All right, what's up, everybody watching this from YouTube? I just want to give a quick shout out to the Twitch stream. They're in the chat right now. You can see them below the name. They're all saying hi, YouTube. Now, they made a bracket earlier today or tonight during this stream. This is happening Tuesday, technically Wednesday morning at 12:42 a.m. And definitely want to give a quick shout out to the chat. They came in, they made their own bracket. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. It's a very interesting one. That's for sure. They had NRG winning with a bracket reset against version 1. So you can take that for what you want. Now, if you want to put some common sense into my Twitch chat, be sure to do so on twitch.tv/Dazarin. Make sure to turn the noties on because I stream kind of randomly at this time. But I want to give a big shout out to chat. Had to throw their reactions on screen for what we're about to do right now, which is predicting the NA Spring Invitational. As you guys know, this is going to be a big invitational. Teams are still trying to qualify for the Spring Major. So based on how this goes, we'll kind of determine, who's going to make it to represent North America in Boston. Honestly, let's just get to it. Let's get started. FaZe Clan G League. Obviously, G League is a very solid team. If you guys need to take a little refresh of the roster, this is not the roster. And I just broke something. Yo, I just broke. I think my computer just shut down. My computer's restarting right now. It just decided to restart on its own. I blue screened. That didn't work out the way I thought it would. Anyways, like I was saying, we're talking about G League and FaZe. G League consists of Aqua Knight and Zenil. All really solid players in their own right, going up against a FaZe Clan roster who had to bounce back after their first event. If you go back to event 1, FaZe Clan ended up kind of having an early, I almost say a bomb out of that regional. And definitely were a team that, wanted to kind of get back in form. They obviously ran into version 1. Here, I'll even pull up the other two, the Spring Open and the Spring Cup, just to have those recent results that we can reference here, because we'll probably end up going back and forth between these a lot here. But of course, FaZe Clan with a great lower bracket run in the Spring Cup, making it all the way to the grand finals. They started lower round 2 and they went on a tear. They lost up around a Furia. We'll talk about Furia a little bit later, but just knowing how impressive FaZe's run is, you can definitely tell that FaZe are back in form after their early exit. Again, if you were unfamiliar, in Spring Open, they lost to FaZe. They lost to Space Station Gaming, went to lower bracket, got swept by G2. I remember I talked to Rolders about it. He was just like, they're not balling. They just weren't. I don't know if he said hooping or not, so I didn't want to reference that. But going into this, FaZe Clan should be expected to do really well at this tournament, mainly just because of all the talent that's on the rosters and knowing that the major is at stake and trying to get into the best position in the World Championship possible. I'm going to say FaZe Clan starts this one off 3-1. I'll give a game to G League. Their team is definitely capable of making adaptations, but I don't think it'll be enough to stop FaZe. Now, Furia NRG. This is definitely an interesting one because a lot of people are rolling off the hype of NRG's last regional performance, where NRG ended up making a really deep run in a bracket. Go back to the Spring Cup. We talked about FaZe's run. NRG was on the other side of the bracket and met FaZe in the lower semifinal. Taking down teams like Complexity, G2, and Furia is definitely worth noting. And yeah, they started lower round 1 too, and lost Space Station earlier. Definitely worth noting here from NRG. Lots of Game 5, lots of close series, and everyone kept asking the question, are they back? And I would, I think at the moment I would say, you could say yes. You could definitely put the weight there on some of the wins. How much of those wins are contributed to teams not showing up? How many of them are contributed to NRG playing better? I think NRG played kind of the same. And I think even Garrett had said that a little bit on First Touch last week. That being said, though, you could kind of tell they elevated a little bit more once they started getting some of the wins. You go back to the Complexity win. That's a big win for them. They take that momentum into the G2 series. They win that. They take it into the Furia series. They win that. Definitely a factor. Now when things reset and you start looking towards the future facing, some people have started to look at other results from past events. I'm going to go back on Wikipedia and talk about the draw. because the draw is one of the things that are giving a lot of people their stock. You talk about NRG Furia, right? That was the first matchup in the draw that happened over the course of last weekend. It was a sweep. Furia ended up going really far. They beat NRG, they beat G League, they beat a crew, Oath VVT Corral, I'm not saying the name, who ended up taking down, who did they take down? Complexity in 5. We'll talk about that a little bit later. And then Furia ended up getting reverse swept by Rebellion here. So all in all, looking at all things considered, some people are taking the recent results of the regional and giving more stock to NRG. Some people are taking away that for an even more recent result, because remember, the Spring Cup happened a month ago. And looking at the most recent look of NRG, some people weren't necessarily impressed. Now, understanding all of that, taking everything into consideration, I think no matter what, this series is most likely going 4 or 5. No one's getting swept here. But I personally would have to give it to Furia right now. I think Furia would play it very close with NRG. They would have to. First match of the day, you have to come out swinging. NRG would make adaptations over the course of the matchup. If I could even go into a game-by-game basis, I would say Fury take game 1, NRG take game 2. Game 3 is going to be the biggest one that kind of decides the difference maker between the two. But if Fury wins game 3, I kind of think they take game 4. Well, yeah, they take game 4. Still a chance they could choke game 4, but I'll go on the safe side here and go 3. Actually, no, I'll go 3-1, because I think if Fury take that game 3, they'll take game 4 no problem. So that's kind of the direction I'm going with. If Fury are looking hot today or on Friday, then they'll go 5. And then Fury will be in trouble. Fury fans will be in trouble. But that's kind of where I'm thinking the way the series goes. A lot of people like to call series after game 1, but I think game 2 is the most important one because it shows if a team can adapt or not. And then when you have a tied up series, game 3 really makes a difference maker of who can have that control, so to speak. So that's where I would go with NRG Furia. Looking at G2 M80, major time. Cheese came into the stream earlier today. Cheese plays for Koi, which we'll talk about a little bit later. He said Lion Blaze on 10 hours past 2 has been grinding a lot of rust, which I already didn't have that much stock in the M80. If you guys are unfamiliar with the roster of M80, Percy, Lion Blaze, Kinsei. Lion Blaze and Kinsei both played in the CRL World Championship last weekend. I'm starting to lose track of time. Yeah. Not this past weekend with the draw, the weekend before. Lion Blaze his team was kind of expected to win. They didn't win. Kinsei, they actually lost to Kinsei's team, which is kind of interesting considering that now they're teammates in RLCS. M80, I think, have a shot in the dark to make major. They need a lot to happen that just doesn't really seem realistic of happening, so they may have chalked it there. G2, things more realistic for G2 esports here. And I do think that G2 having a run is something that not a lot of people are predicting, but is possible. More on the realistic side of being possible or not. So I'll go G2 and 4. No, I want to do G2 and 4. G2 starts slow, so I'll do G2 and 4. Version 1 versus Koi. Interesting matchup, mainly because Koi is one of those teams that have gone a close series with some of the best teams, but they just never win. V1 Koi. V1 look like the best team in NA right now. Regardless of how well Koi plays, I think we could just kind of, for speed's sake, we could say V1 and 4. Complexity and Team Axel. I don't think Axel is in major contention. I can actually look at points right here. They're not even top 16. Wait, are they actually not top 16? This also adjusts based on, oh, they're 15. But in Spring Split, they're not top 16. Okay. Yeah, so Axel are gaming the game. Complexity are fighting for a major spot. I'm giving it Complexity and 4. I got a lot of game 4s here. Matter of fact, I'll give them a sweep. Let's go Optic Rebellion. This is a tough one. I'm not gonna lie. This is actually a really tough one. Because Rebellion have been playing a lot better recently. And Optic have 2. We look at Spring Cup. Both teams just a place apart from each other. Both losing to FaZe Clan in a sweep. Rebellion took down Jinji last event. But they fell to the lower bracket by losing to version 1. So you can kind of tell where Rebellion's cutoff is. Yeah, and for Optic as well. I mean, the win against G2 is great, but they couldn't transfer going against V1. They just didn't win a game on Saturday. Whereas you look to the event before, they actually had a pretty good run at the opener here. Took a game off Complexity. Again, BG2, BSSG. But even Optic kind of struggles against teams at the top. But how will they fare going head-to-head is a tough question because we don't really have tape on how they go head-to-head, just comparing them to other teams here and there. Some people are going to look at the draw results recently, but Optic losing to SSG, not really anything too crazy. They've been going back and forth here. I wonder, let me see Optic SSG's head-to-head history. Yeah, 4-3. It goes from draw, even Steel Series Cup. I think if I had to pick, I would have to give it to Optic in 5 because I think Optic top down are a better team. Let's go to Gen G and Sup. In my professional opinion, this is going to be a nice 3. I'll do 3-1 to start the day off. Nice. No. Let's do a 3-0 to start the day off. That's all I got to say there. SSG Dig, that's a sweep. FaZe Clan Furia. Friday just started. Both teams 3-1. Go head to head. I'll speed up a little bit for you guys. This would be tough. This is one of those defining series. This is one of those defining series where if Furia wins this, they got a good chance of making the major. But they'll probably go against, oh, by the way, G2 V1, I'm calling that V1 and 4. FaZe Clan Furia, whoever wins this is playing V1 next round in a best of 7. Now keep in mind that's a totally different day. So I'll say, give me FaZe in 5. All right. Optic gave me Complexity. If Complexity are back and they have that bounce back that I'm expecting them to have, I feel like they take down Optic and I think they take down Optic at 5 because I think Optic will really fight for that series. So I'll have it going 5. Gen G and SSG. This will be a tough one. I gotta go with my guys. It's definitely the Copium. The Copium is coming out here, which is unfortunate. But also, I think it's just Gen G's ability to play better after they've played worse. Where in every event I've seen them, if they play worse and they get to that next day, they play so much better. And them coming after the loss, I know that they've been spending a lot of time on the game and grinding. I'll do Gen G in 5 there. And then we move it to the lower bracket for Friday. NRG G League. Gotta give that to NRG. It'll be in 4 unless panic button for NRG and then it'll be in 5. But I think it'll be in 4. M80 versus Koi. Give me Koi. Cheese. I feel like Cheese is not worried about that. Rebellion, Axel. I'm going Rebellion in a sweep. I think the lower bracket will be pretty boring. I'm going to be honest. Like that lower round 1, I don't think it's going to be that entertaining. Sup Dignitas. I'm actually going to go Sup here. Sup in 5. I don't know. I feel like if they go lower bracket early, especially if they get swept by SSG, I feel like it's chalked. Versus Sup losing to Gen G, not that bad. Not the end of the world for them. They'll put in some work there. All right. Finishing off Friday. If I'm the main Rocket League stream, I'm watching Space Station Gaming NRG. It's major implications on the line there. And then we're watching SSG. Wait. I'm thinking about it a little bit more. Initially, though, I feel like SSG wins this. It could go 5 and SSG could lose. And that's a problem. I'm going to come back to that. Furious Sup. Fury going to win this one. We'll give it... Oh, this would be a grudge match, actually. This would be a grudge match because remember, Yan and Money were trash talking each other that one time. I think it was after the Spring Open. So this one would definitely be a little bit of passion behind it. If Sup could end Furious chances of making the major, oh my God, that'd be a lot. We'll do that. G2 Rebellion, also a major implication match. If G2 lost to V1, I don't think they would be down in the dumps, but I think they'd be locked in. I would give it to G2 and 4. Optic Koi, same kind of deal. Let's see. Who's Koi playing V1 first round? Optic lose Complexity. I think Optic have just been more locked in on the day. I give it to Optic in 5. But Koi put up a fight. SSG, NRG, again, this is tough. Do we have tape on either of them this split? I'm only looking at this split. They did not play each other. They did. They played, and this is NRG's when they hit their best run. They were sent to the lower bracket by Space Station Gaming. who ended up going to the upper finals. So if we're getting upper final space station, it depends on what kind of space station we're getting this weekend. Are we getting upper finals? Are we getting lower bracket semifinals? I mean, that's still really good for a space station. But space station are going 5 with Gen G. I feel like they go 5 with NRG, and I feel like they win. So I would go there with SSG. But that one, in my opinion, if I get any of these wrong, this will probably be the one I get wrong. That's where I would go in that aspect. So SSG, keep moving on. And then we go into Saturday. Yeah, so we start with these two lowers and then we go uppers. So let's start with the lower bracket on Saturday. SSG and Optic. First match of the day. Honestly, first match of the day, SSG Optic, I give that to SSG. 3-1. The SSG could come out the gate a lot hotter than Optic can and on initial matches. G2 Furia. Ooh. G2 Furia. Major implications. Let's see. Let's do some stuff. I want to look at the SSG Optic one as well here, because they did meet head to head, and Optic did win. But I believe this was this was on Sunday. Am I wrong? This is in the Open though. In the Cup, Optic did have the slow start. Was it a slow start? 1 goal games. Not necessarily that bad. 1 goal games, and then things fell apart. Then they went down here, and then things still kind of close, still kind of fell apart. Versus SSG starting their day off against Fury with a 4-2. But then they start Sunday off, and they get 4-1, and then, Now, I think I'm still okay with the Optic SSG pick. But the G2 Furia pick is also an interesting one, because Furia started their day off kind of the same as Optic and lost recently. Keep in mind, this is like a month ago, though, which irritates me. Because these are all kind of not really super recent results, but I feel like they still should be taken into account. So, G2 Furia. That's so tough, man. That is so tough. I would probably have to kind of give it to Furia. I'm leaning towards Furia right now, mainly because thinking about G2's run in the last few events, top 6. Hey, and then, what was this, top 8?
Oh, my
Thanks for the
God.
sub, Diff. Top 6, top 8. Furia, top 6. 2 top 6s. Both teams lost to NRG here, so take that for what it is. Furia had an upper bracket round, though, where they beat FaZe. Out of both the teams, they're the only team to make the semifinals. In the Open, G2 lost to SUP round 1 and then had to fight just to make top 6. Although, sweeps against FaZe are important. I don't see enough stock on G2 right now that would lead me to believe that they would do something different. Versus Furia, I feel like they've been improving over the course of the split. Even taking down V1 here in the sweep is impressive, considering that V1 definitely had a shaky first regional. But when it comes down to it and the pressure's on the line, I think I go Furia here. I'm not set on it, but I am confident in that decision. So then we go to upper bracket for Saturday. FaZe version 1, first match of the day. Honestly, this is match of the day on Saturday. There's a lot of matches. There's a lot of good matches, but I would say that's match of the day. FaZe Clan versus Furia, definitely an interesting one. Can FaZe Clan improve and take down V1, or is V1 that strong to be kind of on a, I won't say a vitality level, that's a different beast, but kind of close to it. If V1 win 2 regionals, you got to start keeping an eye on them. And I won't count First Killer and crew out, but I don't think V1 lose steam. So I would have to give it in 7, which I think is kind of best case scenario too. If you think of like in a performance at the major, you want that 7. Just like how Team Liquid goes 7 with Vitality, and you know Liquid could take it against Vitality, I would say the same thing. So I would do FaZe in 7 there. Going to Complexity, Gen G Mobile 1 Racing. This was kind of a toss-up. It is all over the place between both those teams. They've traded blows back and forth. I think Complexity took the most recent one. V1 has beat FaZe in the finals. I just feel like FaZe would want to try to improve and get closer to that win. So that's why I would have FaZe in 7. Complexity, Gen G. I need to find a... Here we go. Let's just look at this, because this is just... We could just peep, boom. Complexity have definitely been winning the more of these. 7, 6. I'm not counting this. So we won't count the 7s here. We won't count the 7. This would be more of a 1, 2... we might as well count the draw. We might as well count the draw. Actually, I might skip the draw. If I'm skipping Hercules' tournament, I'll skip the draw. So we won't count bubble tournaments. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 2, 1, 2. So it's really 6-2. Gingy's wins, regionals. Yeah, okay, 6-2. That's great. Okay, this is a qualifier win too. But you definitely know that Gingy has the ability, even though you have 7-game series here. Anytime Gingy wins, it doesn't go the distance except for this best of 5 here. So I think if I'm rating this, I think Gingy has to prove that they're the better team than Complexity on this day. I give it to Complexity in 6. But right now, Complexity have Gingy's number. I don't expect that to change unless Gingy show that, and then they show that they're that top team. I'd have to go with that prediction. There's no evidence that gives me an idea except for the draw. We could talk about the draw, of course, where again Complexity did have that slow start. But projecting here, I'm projecting Complexity to get their act together, and then they go into this series on this day with a lot more confidence, and they play much better than they played at the draw. So, based off that projection, even the same with Gingy, I just expect both teams to give it their all, but Complexity still have the advantage there. So Complexity go to the final with V1. Then we go to the lower bracket. Who's going to round off Sunday? FaZe Clan going against Space Station Gaming. FaZe Clan has definitely... I believe they've lost to SSG in the past. No, SSG ended up losing to FaZe. I had already felt like going FaZe here, but the fact that a month ago it was a 4-1 still kind of gives me that same confidence moving forward. I'll call it 4-2 this time. And then you have Gingy against Furia here. And I'd say, for me, Gingy Furia is definitely an interesting one. I believe they've played before, but I don't remember exactly how close that was. Oh, yeah, round 1, it was a best of 5. Gingy Furia in the Spring Open. That was the last time they had played, but let's see. I would probably give it to Gingy. Even as well as Furia has been playing, and if they end up getting the win against G2 to start the day, both teams are going to be playing a decent amount of Rocket League over the course of the day. I can see the bounce back. I'll go 7 though. And then I want to check points here because this updates with points. So where are we right now? Okay, this is interesting. You guys can't see points because my face is in the way. But this would solidify the major. Right now, here, I'll move my face so you guys at home can see it. There's a tie there. 39 points, but it's more than optic. So Furia would have to win that to be put into the conversation, which actually, that's going to put more pressure on the series. Because let's say Furia wins this series here against Gingy, right? They still don't make the major. They would have to beat FaZe Clan. So that would put so much more pressure on Furia moving forward. Furia would be fighting for their lives to go to the lower bracket that early. So the win for Gingy, the win in that lower round secures the major. So they have to be Furia to make major. I just don't think they choked that. Furia have to continue to win. So if they do this, they qualify for Boston. I think that's solid. Now at that point, a lot of teams would have already qualified. SSG would be in a really good spot though. So first match of the day, V1 Complexity. I mean, I'm giving that V1. I'd say Complexity probably are playing better, but I don't think they've had enough reps against version 1 to really understand how they work and stop them. So I would go version 1. I think Complexity are still also kind of just ramping up in general. And even though they would play really good going into that day, I think V1 would just be a different beast and just put them down. Then we go to lower bracket, FaZe Clan against Gingy. This one has potential to go 7. I think that's tough. It's tough, but I don't know. This is really interesting because I know FaZe and Gingy's head-to-heads are just like Complexity and Gingy. It's like a triangle between these teams and Gingy. If Gingy beat Furia here in 7, they could play close with FaZe. Regardless, we know the major teams at this point. I think I go FaZe in 7. So then we go FaZe in 7, FaZe Complexity. Complexity had just lost. I don't really know Complexity and FaZe's record that well. Not as much as I know about everyone in Gingy's record. But I think I would give it back to FaZe and have FaZe in 6. And then we'd have the grand finals where FaZe are back against version 1. But I think FaZe has just played so much Rocket League and V1 is just going to be solid that they'll probably take it in 6 here too. So I think that's kind of where I'm headed here with this. Obviously, if you have your own opinions, you can let me know and you can make your own bracket and we can judge that too. But those are the only, that's what I'm saying. It's definitely tough to tell. just because there's a lot of competition up and down. So we'll see how things go at the end of the day. But of course, let me know what you think. And also, let me know what your bracket looks like as well. Who do you have winning the tournament? Who do you have qualifying for the major? I want to know everybody's top 5 teams qualifying for the major. So let me know. And then chat, say toodaloo to YouTube. Toodaloo.